Hello out there in YouTube land. It's your old buddy Lee, the writer. I want to tell you about my flagship book, The Waitman House Seance. It's a incredibly long book. It's like a story that grew a life of its own and goes on and on and on. I've been working on volume 4 the last couple of months, and it's becoming clear to me I'll probably have to create a volume 5 to really wrap it up. It's been a lot of work. I created it because it was always a story that I had cooking in my head and wanted to get it on paper. I kind of wanted to turn my ordinary life into something a little extra special by leaving behind something that I could feel proud of. I haven't had a chance to tell you that I do have a Facebook page, Lee Hansen, the author. And on that page I do share some of the chapters of my story. Also on Facebook I have a page called The Waitman House Seance. And there's a combination of videos and excerpts from my book there. So if you're interested, you can go see some information and parts of the story on Facebook, and it won't cost you anything. I've been working hard on it, and I didn't intend for it to get so big. Like I told you in the other video, I was a big Stephen King fan, and I have to say he really kind of inspired me to create something. As I read his style, he was kind of a footloose and fancy-free writer. He broke from the traditional form of most horror stories and kind of put his own fingerprints on the horror genre. And I guess imitation is the most sincere form of flattery, so I kind of followed along his path. I didn't try to copy his style particularly, but I just walked the same beats that he did. Anyway, I just wanted to add a short little clip here to tell you that you could see some of my book on Facebook. The Waitman House Seance group page and the Lee Hansen, the author page. You'll find quite a bit of material about my story there. I want to thank you for your interest. Some people have expressed desire to learn a little bit more about what I've been doing, so I thought I'd just make a quick video presentation to tell you where you could go and find more information. So, thanks for listening, and if you're interested, go to those places and you can find a little more details. I also have a Kindle's author page where you can find all my books. I think there's 15 to 20 of them there. And I also have all my books are on Amazon Bookseller too, where you can find a little sample of the stories to read. I've written some kind of different kind of things. I tried to go down all the different genres, Western and supernatural, horror. I even wrote one that's kind of like a Greek mythology legend, an island in the Mediterranean that only comes up every 1,000 years. And the first visit from outsiders is during the Egyptian Empire. That story spans, I believe it's 4,000 years from the first visit from some crew of a Egyptian ship that hit the island in a storm and was shipwrecked, to a crew of people that live in the future. I believe it's 3000 AD, 1,000 years from our time. So it's a Pretty cool story. I tried to use a style of writing that made it seem like it's a Greek legend, and I used Greek names by and large. I named the characters after different musical terminology. So anyway, there on Amazon, you should be able to find my author's page, and it'll have a list of the different stories that I've written. If you're curious and have any questions and would like to have me explain any of the stories to you on my YouTube page, just leave me a message and tell me which story it is, and I'll make some notes and try to do a little bit of a video on it to cover it for you, explain it to you. I also wrote myself into the story, the Greek legend. I wrote myself into that story, I guess just like Stephen King had written himself into a story, I thought I'd do the same thing. I guess that's part of being an egotistical guy too, is trying to include yourself in every damn little thing. So anyway, that's about all I got for you in this video. If you're interested, I hope you go to those pages and check it out. It won't cost you a penny. And if it's meant to be and you want to buy a copy of the book, let me know and I'll see if I can do something special for you. I'd be glad to send you a letter and communicate a little bit, tell you some details if you have some questions about the story. I won't be able to answer any questions about the Waitman House seance for a while because I haven't finished it yet. I guess it's worth mentioning to you that besides the Waitman House seance, my other flagship book is called The Voyage of the Jormungandr. And that's a story of a crew of Vikings that travel to the New World, go down the coast of North America, sail across the Gulf of Mexico, and make contact with the Mayan Empire in the year 725 AD. That one was another one that I really poured myself into because I wanted to make an epic story, something that would really be there after I've kicked the bucket and I'm just laying under a headstone somewhere. I was hoping that my Viking story would be epic enough to survive for a while. I have to tell you, I did have some interest from a publisher in Sweden that considered it, but we never got too far into the discussion. I was hoping that maybe a Swedish publisher would be more interested in a Viking novel than just about anybody else, but it didn't quite pan out the way I thought it would. Anyway, the Viking story is also a love story for you people that like romance. Ragnar, the hero, the captain of the Jormungandr, falls in love with one of the crew members named Christina. And I'll have to tell you, it has a happy ending. In fact, it ends in a very big community celebration in the Viking town. And they have a huge feast. And the chieftain gets up on a stage that they had built to address the crowd. And then there's a big surprise. And I won't tell you what the surprise is. You'll have to you'll read about it in the story. I actually put that chapter, the end chapter of The Voyage of the Jormungandr, I put it on the page there that I have on Facebook. I got a couple of different Facebook group pages for the Viking story. One of the groups is called The Voyage of the Jormungandr, and then the other Facebook group page is called Ragnar Serpent Eye. because after I finished the main story, I went back and I wrote an origin story for Ragnar. You know, I had to have him come from somewhere, so I took it all the way back to where he was an 11-year-old boy living in a small, secluded area in ancient Sweden. So anyway, if you really like Viking stories and adventures and stories about a ship at sea, the Voyage of the Jormungandr, it'll exceed your expectations. I'm pretty confident in saying that. It's a real fun book. If you like Vikings and you always wondered what would have happened in ancient times if they would have made contact with the Mayans, what would have happened? And I can tell you that it was a good meeting. They showed mutual respect for each other. The Vikings showed respect for the Mayans, and the Mayans showed respect for the Vikings. They both recognized that they were warriors and warrior class people. And it is a good story. They get out of there after having all their adventures, which are numerous and very interesting. The Vikings leave and head back across the Atlantic to return to their homeland, taking a couple of the Mayans with them. And they cross back across the Atlantic using the same path that Christopher Columbus used. Then they sail up from Spain up the coast of Europe to return to Sweden. And of course it wouldn't be a Viking story unless they had adventures all the way back up to Sweden, right up to the day before they got home. So anyway, you can read excerpts of that story on Amazon Bookseller and catch quite a few of the chapters on Facebook too. So I know some of you had asked me what kind of books I write and how you might be able to see some samples of my writing and that. So there you go. If you have any other questions, I have written a couple other very interesting books. One of them is about an Indian tribe that lived here on Hood Canal 3,000 years ago and their adventures. That one's called The Amulet of Shulla, and it's got some sorcery and magic in it, and a young Indian boy is the hero. He's a teenager, and he's got an older man that's from his tribe. Knock is his name, and he accompanies Zakwil, the hero, and they travel from Hood Canal through the Olympic Mountains to go out to the Washington coast. Out on the Washington coast, they hook up with another tribe out there. Turns out that the lady that's the chief of the tribe on the coast is Zakwil's aunt. And she sends him down to walk down the Washington coast to go to the Columbia River, where he's to go meet his destiny by meeting somebody, a very important person that lives in a castle made out of driftwood, out on a point out by the end of the Columbia River. I'm not going to spoil it by telling you about the guy that lives in the driftwood castle. Maybe if somebody asks about it, I'll give you some more details about it, but it's pretty cool. That's where the magic really cranks in. Zakwil goes there to deliver the amulet. The amulet has the power of a sorcerer. So anyway, if you're curious, drop me a message and I'll go into a little more detail on the next video. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.